Hey people, welcome to the full view. Hey, good vibes. John's feeling the intro. He's feeling the UV.
Just keep the music running. Let's not talk about the football. Just keep dancing.
Let's vibe.
I know that it feels like we talked about that before we went live. Just have a dance, like John was saying. I just there's no good vibes, but I'll let him explain. Big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to everyone locked in this Sunday evening. A tough week coming up at Manchester United after the back of a bad humbling yesterday against Brighton. It feels very negative right now. We're talking about is there a crisis? Are we overreacting here? What's going on? We need to get into that. We do have EyeJax with us some ways, just having a few technicals. We're going to bring him in just a second. But big up to Owen, big up to Marcel, big up to Rich, and of course, big up to Good Vibes John. Man, hope you guys are doing the best that you can, considering it's been tough. And EyeJax, let's get EyeJax in here now. EyeJax, can you?
Yeah, sorry, okay. Man. KG settings. I'm sorry, guys. This is something that I usually don't do, but yeah,
it's cool.
I'm here now. Good, I can hear you fully functional now.
Good. Great to see you, man. Great to see you. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. Samuel says, Flex don't even want to wear shirts no more. Yeah, at the moment, I'm just going to wear all my MLS stuff. I got sent a whole bunch of MLS stuff from last season. I'm just going to keep going through them because that's just what I want to do right now. I want some time away before I travel again on Tuesday. But where do we start? I mean, it's a simple... Good vibes, John.
No, start with
give us some good vibes.
He got picked on by the teacher straight away. Answer this question.
Your name's Good Vibes, John. So
explain yourself.
Could you please? Could you give us some good vibes, please?
Sort of way to my checking account and my savings account is set up is like, no, for real. Like, jokes aside, honestly, as a content creator focusing on positivity and trying to talk about Manchester United, the club I love, in a positive limelight, it is really difficult these times. I try to make a video talking about the performance, and yes, there are certain elements to the game yesterday where it put a smile on my face. For example, looking at somebody like Rasmus Højlund, his movement, his awareness, his strength, and apparently according to Erik Ten Hag, he wasn't even at 100%. He was still sort of facing some sort of minor issue. To see a young player like him, to see the way he sparked that front line looked great. And that honestly, genuinely put a smile on my face. I couldn't be any more happier. But apart from Rasmus Højlund and maybe Sergio Reguilon, everything else, I was sitting there. I was like, okay, I'm not creating content tomorrow. There's no way. There's no way on God's green earth I can make something. No, it's serious. Like, I don't try to force the positivity. I look for it if it's there. If it's authentic, it's genuine. I genuinely right now cannot find it. And that's what's troubling me a little bit right now. It's one of those moments where Manchester United are suffering from a multitude of issues. And I just feel like it's a very tough time.
That one got me. See, that is really rude. That's really rude.
That's really good.
I know. No, I hear you, John. I hear you. You're always trying to look for some positives. You're trying to, find the gems. And I suppose when we kind of calm down and we look at stuff that we praised Ten Hag for last year, none of that's gone away. It's still true, but you can't just. For me personally, I'm just like, there's only so much we can just keep saying that, and it's okay. You can't just be immune from some criticism in the moment, and especially within the 90 minutes of yesterday, it's absolutely justified from Ten Hag and the players as well, by the way, because we're not letting them off. Rich, didn't get a chance to hear from you yesterday. What's your thoughts on what you saw yesterday and what to do now? What to do?
Yeah, like honestly, the question I'm asking as well, as same with John. I thought yesterday, let me just do a post-match. I did one quick on my channel, and I was just like, it's just hard right now. Where do we go from here? That's the question we're asking, right? Because when you watch that game, pre-game, like, let's be honest, a lot of us weren't confident anyway, right? We weren't confident because we rate Brighton, Hove, Albion FC as Flex is saying these days, yeah? And we rate them. But the sad thing is, we should be at their level or better. Like, we played, well, we finished higher than them last season. We're meant to be building or something, but it seems like we've taken almost 2 steps back to hopefully go 4 steps forward. But we're not seeing those forward steps right now. And in terms of on the pitch, Ten Hag is saying, I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more in a minute, but Ten Hag is saying that he wanted to play that different style, slightly different style, you know. And we're talking about diamonds and all this kind of stuff. But initially I thought at one point it looked like we had a back four, then we had Casemiro sitting by himself, obviously. Then we had the 3 in front of him, and then the 2 in front of them. So it wasn't the kind of midfield diamond I expected all throughout. And it just didn't seem to work for the whole 90 minutes. That comment, Eric, 10 minutes of dominance, it very much feels like that. And it's the script that we've been having for this season. You know, we start well, we don't capitalize on our chances, we concede a goal, and then unfortunately we seem to crumble. We can't capitalize. And something I noticed yesterday as well, which really annoyed and really upset me, was we had chances. Like when at a point Brighton scored, we had about 6 shots on target. They had 1 shot on target, they get a goal. And it seems like their chances are just more clinical, more clear-cut than our chances. Like, you know, I was saying at one point, Rashford should be clinical, but I didn't mean he should be clinical and finish his chance, but clinical in the sense of making the right decision, you know, pass the ball at the right time. And it's not just Rashford, it's everyone. You know, people are jumping on Rashford at the moment. It's not just Rashford, right, that's making these mistakes. We just can't click in that front line. And it's such a shame because, honestly, where do we go from here? Like, what do we do next?
There's a lot of super chats. I'm going to read them out and then come to you, EyeJax. Daddy English, thank you for the contribution there. Appreciate that. So Marcus says, when are we going to start holding these players accountable? We've seen a similar pattern every second season for the past 10 years, where players give in once they're forced with adversity. WJ Barrett says, we are in a mess. I was naive.
I think you meant to say naive.
Yeah. I was naive to think Sancho would return. Flex, you was right. I'm not down on this manager. Trust the process. I think I'm not done with this manager. Trust the process in Eric Ten Hag. I still trust. And Daddy English says, first super chat, guys, let's stand with Ten Hag and stay positive. Arteta went through a lot worse. So keep positive. Red Devil says, EyeJax, we seem to play good for 15 to 20 minutes only. Then the opposition make changes. We have no answer. Does that sound familiar? Hold that thought there, EyeJax. Lil Yo says, Fleck, I was there yesterday and doing that drive back was miserable. Not going to lie. I wanted to rush Rashford. Questions to be asked, but ride the storm. And WJ Barrett says, let's be honest. We were all thinking was back in it was first 20 minutes, some great ball. I was thinking that. I really was. What if Rashi scores or passes, they score and we die? How, guys? Yeah, a lot of fine margins in all of these games. It's not like we've been absolutely destroyed. I know the scoreline says, you know, in the last 2 games, we've conceded 6 and scored 2. You know, I get that. But, you know, in the first 15, 20 minutes, and I feel silly saying it, but I'm not, I'll say it because it's the truth. There was a couple of moments, even though we hadn't scored yet, I was up on my feet clapping. Yeah. Like some of the football we were playing, winning it back high. There was a move that Eriksen did when he did like a little 360 pirouette and then passed. And I was like, whoa. Rashford had a bit where he was like in the 10 position, took the ball like kind of back, then to the side, then forward, great feet, then pass it. And I was like, yo, we're cooking. Okay. Yes. And I just felt really positive. And then as soon as Brighton worked us out and they rode that 20 minutes, which is testament to them, by the way, and they broke us open, that was it. There was no looking back. But EyeJax, you can tell clearly everyone's feeling quite negative here. I feel like we're going to need your help here. We're going to need you here because it's feeling harsh right now.
Let me put things in a little bit of perspective for you guys. First of all, you could be an Ajax supporter at the moment. So let's start off with that because you guys think you're in the mud, but our situation is like way worse than that. But no, in all seriousness, you know, I will get into the stuff about Ten Hag that he can do better. And some things that were mentioned also in the super chats already have been mentioned by me as negatives of him before he even became the manager of United. So yes, he has his flaws and yes, he has his stubbornness. And sometimes it's so annoying, you know, that you're like, why aren't you doing anything else? And at other times that same stubbornness brings great results and things that you think, wow, I didn't expect this happening. But first of all, let's put things into perspective. You've lost 3 times into the competition this year. You lost against 3 teams while playing away from home twice that are in the top 5 at the moment. Arsenal and Tottenham. I'm not saying you need to lose there, but it can happen. Yeah, especially Arsenal. They're further in their process. They've had a great season last season. Man United isn't at that stable point yet. That the Serbia team, that Brighton team, is just a great team that plays great football throughout the whole season, also last season. And if I recall correctly, you guys had a streak going on for like 31 home matches or something. Who was the only opponent that beat you at home?
Yeah,
Right,
it was them.
No.
So sometimes teams, just the way they play, they're not suited for you. But that doesn't mean that you need to lose there. Another thing that you should put into perspective. I've heard a lot of noises about why is he making that kind of substitute? Why isn't there a plan B? Have you looked at your bench yesterday?
That's right.
Tell me which player could provide a plan B better than the players that he selected for the first 11. I'm sorry,
I think a lot of people were saying that Garnacho should have come on for Rashford because people were fed up with Rashford.
Yeah, people were saying the Rashford thing was curious because I get it with what Ten Hag would be thinking. He would probably be thinking, look, Rashford's had games where he's done nothing, absolutely nothing, scores, and you go, oh no, against Arsenal, great example. He was on the periphery of the game, bit of individual brilliance, scores a goal.
And he was looking sharp in the first 20 minutes. He was looking great in the first 20 minutes.
It's where do you draw the line? Because the stat yesterday, and it's the eye test as well, but this stat is damning of Marcus Rashford yesterday, right? Marcus Rashford attempted 9 shots against Brighton, his most ever in a single Premier League match, the most by a Man United player without scoring in the competition since Zlatan against Burnley in October 2016. So that kind of sums up yesterday. You know, when people were sort of saying, I'm feeling like Rashford's being a bit greedy here, the stats also back it up. He was taking too many shots. He wasn't finding the centre forwards. Now, I can understand, again, Ten Hag's point of view because he's like, well, he's a talismanic figure last season. You keep him on, You heard the reaction when he took Højlund off. The crowd booed him. And even that, I thought was really harsh because clearly that was predetermined that he was going to take him off after 65 minutes because he hasn't even started a game yet this season. So I thought that was incredibly harsh. But some of the things, and this is where it gets into that territory of no manager is beyond criticism with, you're 3-1 down last minute. Why on earth is Bruno Fernandes at right centre back? No one ever thought that.
I agree.
No one ever thought that.
I agree with that part because that doesn't make sense. Maybe he wants to have some fresh legs for against Bayern München or something. He didn't have like a lot of substitutes on the bench, in my opinion, that could bring a quality injection into the team. So I understand, the sentiment, and I understand that it's harsh, especially as a team like United to lose. But you should put things in perspective also. And I fully agree with the plan B and stuff, especially in normal situations, because this is something that worried me at Ajax also during his spell there. This is one of his weaker points, and I've already stated that many times on the channel before. But yesterday, what did he have at his disposal? Even playing like with a diamond on the midfield, it probably is because he doesn't have a right winger at the moment. Elanga is being loaned out. Anthony, now we know what the situation of Anthony is at the moment. We know what the situation of Sancho is at the moment. So he could have played the normal formation, but with what winger? Should you opt for Bruno on that right wing position? It isn't clearly his natural position, and it will also not be his best position to provide for the team. That is the midfield.
That's where people say Facundo Pellistri, who is literally, If I was Facundo for Pellistri yesterday, and if I can't get in when 2 right wingers aren't available for whatever reason, if I can't get in then at home, I understand Brighton. I understand maybe because he did say before the game, maybe I wanted to do a diamond against Arsenal. McTominay wasn't fit. Maybe that was his intention moving forward. But if I'm Pellistri after that game yesterday, and I'm coming on with 10 minutes left, I'm getting on the phone to my agent going, January, like, let's get a loan because I'm never going to play. I'm literally never going to play otherwise. And I think that's the frustration there as well. And I think that goes back to stubbornness too, where it's like, you've got an option there, but in his mind, it's nope, doing the diamond or Bruno's out on the right. I trust him. And it's a trust thing, I think, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to do with trust, but also with stubbornness. But before I dive into the things I do think Ten Hag should improve and that you can take him accountable for, name me another team that has more injuries than you at the moment. I believe you guys have 8
Chelsea,
injuries.
to be fair.
Chelsea? Yeah, maybe Chelsea.
Maybe,
yeah, but 8 injuries,
still,
not like a plan B on the bench. And also, to put in perspective, the points you dropped against the teams you dropped it. Okay, Brighton is a hard one to swallow, but Tottenham away and Arsenal away, it can't happen, man. and it can happen. So if you would have lost against, like us, draw against lower tier teams, or not winning against like sub tier teams, then you're more in the mud, and I can understand it. But you have to trust the manager in the process also, and also take into consideration all the things that are happening at your club. But to dive into the things that you can take him accountable for, yes, he has a lack of a plan B. Always have been like that, a little bit of stubbornness. So maybe this is something that you can take him accountable for, because this is something that he needs to plan before the match. And if it doesn't work, have something ready, even with the players that you have at your disposal, to turn things around. And this has never been one of his strongest points, to analyze the game at halftime and then make some changes. And then you think, wow, this is a totally different ball game. It's always something that I saw in him as a weaker point also during his Ajax spell. And what I touched on before also in the last live stream, the signings that you got in at your club, I do not know if Ten Hag is solely responsible for that, but that was already something that I doubted about, like
Apparently
a few matches ago.
That's the concern. Is apparently like I think a report or someone said that I think only Højlund and maybe Mount were signings made by the scouting department. The rest were Ten Hag signings.
But
and
they seem like very Ten Hag's like signings.
But what's funny is, and I think this is a good point that EyeJax brings up. So you look at when did we play well? First 15, 20 minutes just before Brighton score. And that's because the diamond that he selected did work. And he's right when he comes out after the game and he goes, it was working. The problem is Roberto De Zerbi is such a good coach that he's going up against a diamond and he goes, right, we're struggling. In the middle of the game, 20 minutes in, I'm going to change. I'm going to tactically pivot to something else. I'm going to tweak something. And that's when Erik Ten Hag has to go, right, he's changed or that's changed. And now we're on the back foot. We have to change. And we didn't. And I agree with the players' mentality. The players' mentality is terrible. You go 1-0 down, you can see it in them. They go, well, what do we do? We don't know what to do. Yeah. They don't react. But that's also whereby the coach or the manager or the coaching staff, they have to also react. It's a collaborative effort, isn't it? In that instance, everyone has to react. And you felt like after that goal, everyone was looking around going, what do we do? Like, what are we going to do? And it's not the first time that's happened.
I totally agree with you about that, Owen. And it's one of his weaker points, like I've stated before. But you also have to take into consideration, it's like a poker game, You start out with a certain tactic, then you alter it as a coach. Then you try to alter it again based on what the other coach is altering. But you can do certain things with only the strongest cards that you have in your hand. And let's be honest, that bench of Brighton and the cards that the Serbi had at his disposal compared to what Man United had on the bench, sorry. Do you know even their strongest striker, I believe, or the one that scored the most, came in late in the game. Not even the best players, in my opinion, were playing off Brighton. So, it's quite difficult.
Yeah,
and if you look at the bench of United, not to diss or something, but you can bring in Marcel for 10 minutes and hopefully he doesn't break apart, fall apart. But furthermore, too many injuries and not many players at your disposal. So I do agree with what you're saying, but the conditions weren't ideal also.
Marcel, what are you saying? You're nodding profusely there. How you feeling? A day after, 24 hours after. I know you was quite calm in the first place, but how are you feeling about this?
Perfectly fine. EyeJax has laid it out there perfectly. There's variables in there, and that's the reason why Ten Hag's even changed his whole system. For me, he would have never played the 4-2-2 if all the players are available. Look at the injury list. He signed players and they're not even available to play. Money Mount, he signed injured. Højlund, we haven't even seen him kick a ball that long. Martinez struggled back from that ankle injury. There's so many. Where's Malacia? I haven't even seen Malacia in a long time. So for me, we need to give the Woolsa, get the porridge out, get the Weetabix out, relax. It's not the end of the world. There's 5 Premier League football matches that have been played, guys. This manager's been through this crisis before. He had turbulence at the beginning of the season, last season, and was able to deal with it. I respect what EyeJax is saying there in terms of his lack of tactical nous in game. But for me, if he had the right team at his disposal, we wouldn't have had as much of a big issue that we did have. Again, the only positive that I can really have is Højlund. Højlund was fantastic coming in. He looks like a focal point 9. He looks like everything that Ten Hag has kind of had before in terms of type of striker that can hold the ball and all those kind of sides of the game as well. And, you know, he had opportunities. Rashford hit the post a couple of times, but on his defensive transition, he's shocking. The defensive side of Rashford's game right now is not good enough. He's not giving us enough defensively. Yes, De Zerbi, I think, tactically got it right against Ten Hag. But again, look at the bench. EyeJax has said it perfectly. Look at the bench. Look at our bench that we had. Players to come and change the game and just general quality of footballer. This is an issue that is top down, not bottom up. And the football pitch and the management is closer to the bottom than it is, you know, the other things that we all I don't even want to go into it because we all understand it very well at this point. So for me, it was a game that obviously, you know, at the beginning stages, the shape was looking well, and it's always credit to Ten Hag. His original plan that he meditates over for the last week or God knows how long, it always looks well. It's the caliber and quality of footballer that's lacking. That's not able to implement it long enough, and that literally is, for me anyway, as far as I can see, the issue.
There's little minor details in that match that shows the promise. For example, we're talking about Marcus Rashford. A lot of the comments have been about how he's a selfish player from an eye test, from a statistical perspective. I do understand that sentiment, but Marcus Rashford has been playing alongside some, let's be frank, some horrible forward number 9s. I think Cavani was probably the most energetic, and that's you're saying Cavani, like this is a past his prime PSG Napoli Cavani. We had Falcao, we had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, we had these kinds of players where Marcus Rashford's game has never been about service. It's about hitting people explosively on the 1v1 and taking players on. When the thing that actually interested me the most was when Højlund scored that first goal and then they had that long VAR look. When they celebrated, I could clearly tell Marcus Rashford in his head was like, holy shit, how did you find that pass? Like, you could see it in Rashford's face, because if you look at the positioning of the Brighton defender, I think it might have been Lewis Dunk, the way Højlund was able to get low, use his low, he's a big boy. He got low, used the center of gravity, pushed him out of the way, got around in front of him, and then slapped the ball in. The way he moved in that box in that short space to find the Marcus Rashford pass, you're not seeing that from Weghorst, you're not seeing that from Marcel, you're not seeing that from Cavani. Now we're having that kind of game style. And Rashford's going to have to realize, okay, I could probably do more by doing less. I don't need to always take players on 1v1. Let me just take a step, just cross it in, see what happens. You create more space by just distributing the ball a little bit more. These are little tweaks that we're going to have to make on an individual level before we look at the big scope picture. And I love seeing that moment, because it made me think, okay, once these two start clicking, I guarantee you Marcus is going to make his life easier by just throwing the ball at Højlund, see what happens. You know what I mean? And I think there are elements that we can see. It just obviously didn't translate to a result because the goal didn't stand. But I was so happy looking at that specific moment in particular. It brings me hope, at least.
I hear you there. I'm just going to get to these super chats. Excuse me. K-Flow says, Wambi out for 2 months, apparently. I've seen a Twitter account. I don't know who it is, so we'll wait and see on that if some more sources come to that. It's a source that I haven't seen before, or much of. So I know it's got a couple of people talking online, but I'm pretty sure if he is going to be out for a couple of months, we'll get a swarm of quite big, notable accounts. And that's not me being rude to that account, but at the moment, I haven't seen anything more than one account say that. So we'll keep an eye on that. Mav says, I feel Brighton is a tougher opponent than Bayern. Brighton are closer to City than any other team in the Premier League this season. In a weird way, you know,
it's high praise.
In terms of what's expected for us away at the Allianz is for them to have the ball. We can actually just sit off and try and be effective in the counter. Obviously, we need to give a little bit more, but I do see in terms of the way Brighton play football. Yeah, I watched Bayern against Leverkusen the other day. You know, and we're talking about it, and you know, it's easy to say, "Oh, they ain't that great." You know, one thing is I was going to exploit that, but it's true. They're not the mighty Bayern. He says
defensively, they'll give you chances. They'll give you chances. They've got great
players.
Can we
take them? Can we take those chances?
Exactly. It's all about our own mentality. Is why we.
Let's be realistic, though. I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just get these. Aminor says, question for EyeJax. Does Erik Ten Hag know our best players, and can he play the players in the right positions? E.g., why the F does he play Bruno on the right? Hold those thoughts there, EyeJax. Red Devil says, feels like a loop last 10 years, cycle repeats again. And Love says, Eric Ten Hag deserves better. I feel for him. Is it possible to delete the club and restart just like FIFA? Pick up all you legends and Marcel. Kidding. You're a legend, Marcel. You're a legend. Travel bug. I should have read that like the Thai one. Probably that was set up for me to do it. Actually, my mind's not with it. Travel bug TV says all our successful teams had young legs in midfield. Current team doesn't. Learn the lesson. John definitely agreeing with that. Ben says the matches we won weren't convincing either. By the way we've played. If we've lost all 5 matches, I wouldn't say it was unjust, would you? Yeah, exactly. Because the Forest and Wolves games were very sketchy, to say the least. We could have lost those games very easily. Vincent says, hi, EyeJax, Ajax fan here. Will this Tucker stubbornness and cultural clash outlive the UK fans and media storm? He can come back to us. No, yeah, no, you're not getting him back. WJ Barrett says, thank you, EyeJax. Perspective needed. I don't think we changed. We died after the goal. The press was gone and the shape was gone. The players piss takers. And Andy says the sad thing is that Eric Ten Hag is not getting the support he needs from recruitment, etc., and he has to wear multiple hats, which takes him away from the pitch. Pig Riser says United are extremely short on leaders now. Look at Fergie's early 90s team: Schmeichel, Bruce, Keane, Robson, Hughes. Those players could push bad performances into wins. And Ray says at least we're not Chelsea. # silver linings. Yeah, well, mate, we're down there with Chelsea at the minute. Yeah, exactly.
Gone down to their level. That's the problem,
exactly.
Isn't it? You know what I mean?
WJ Barrett says he's back. Yes, Marcel, I needed this porridge. Love this. And big up to Chucky, latest member of the UV Members Club as well. Big up to you, Chucky. Nice one. Welcome to the family, bro. And Joseph says, so happy to see John here. I watch your TikToks. There you go. A lot of John Shin lovers here, man. Good vibes, John. For real. We're happy to have him here as well. WJ Barrett says, I got shot down a couple of weeks ago on here when I said Casemiro's legs have gone. We're going to talk about him, or is he immune because of last season? We're going to bring it up in the show, 100%. Be like Bryant says, Man United and Chelsea standards need to drop to improve. Sad times. Brighton fan there. Basilo says, who was thinking of renewing Leacher's contract? I'm going to talk about Leacher as well. Lucas says, nice to have EyeJax back on again. Remember to hit the likes. I believe we will do better now with games coming thick and fast, gaining rhythm. Glory, glory, Man United. And the last one's from Mike, says, US reference here. If Deion Saunders can clear an entire college team of loser mentality, what's stopping a pro team like Man United? For me, right, here's where I'm at. Like, and then I'll throw it back to you guys.
Where you at, Flex?
Hang on, Fleck. Andy says, Fleck. Who to get sacked first, Poch or Ten Hag? And Ratisha says Craig Burley from ESPN ripped into our manager.
Of course he does. He's in the media. Tim Sherwood was saying before the game, Eric Ten Hag hasn't improved anyone. What an
nonsense.
Exactly. Here's where I'm at. I think. Listen, what when I have, you're battling all different thoughts in your head, and you always, when you get into these mini ruts, you just worry. Well, I do anyway. I know Marcel doesn't. I do think now is the time, though, where Ten Hag needs to get a grip of this and get a reaction. You know, if I look at it in its entirety, it's the same situation where we play well in spells. I said it to Marcel driving up, and Marcel agreed with me, and it was like, we can play well for 20 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes, at max a half. But it's never consistent enough. And I think that's a massive problem. Players aren't working hard enough. Not just Rashford. I know there's people highlighting his lack of running off the ball, but loads of players were doing it, playing at a snail's pace. Nobody wanted to get out to Brighton players, be in their faces. So that's one thing. Ten Hag's currently not getting the players to buy in. And where does that stem from? It stems from a lot of the same characters that we've always had as well, whether it be Rashford, Bruno, Dalot, Wan-Bissaka when he comes on. It stems from that. I know Casemiro's new, Eriksen's fairly new, Reguilon was new, and he was a bit of a bright spot. But it stems from some old traits, but also it stems from the managers not getting a response out of them. He said, I saw his press conference, he said, it bothers me. This bothers me. And it's his job to get these players to buy in for more than 30 minutes. And mentally, we are fragile. As soon as something bad happens in the game, i.e. we get a goal that we thought was a goal but wasn't, or we take our eye off the ball and then the other team scores, or we play well for 20 minutes, don't get a goal out of it. All of a sudden, the players just go into this shell of nerves. And I'm sick and tired of that. And also where I'm at is actually depicting some of our players, guys. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be really, really, really honest, right? I remember when I think Leacher at the minute, I think he's buying into his own hype, which is annoying me a little bit. Because we call him the butcher and the this and the rah, the terrier, and I feel like he's trying to do too much. I think what we're seeing is, remember when Luke Shaw played a few games at left centre back, right? And I said the drop off is not that big, apart from on the ball. I'm telling you, Luke Shaw is like more solid there. And I know people might say, no, don't say that. He's just come back from his injury flip. I'm telling you now, Leacher in 1v1 situations isn't great. I'm going to be honest.
People, I mean, people won't like this, yeah. But if Harry Maguire did what Lisandro Martinez did for that second goal yesterday, there would have been a meltdown.
Right?
There would have been a meltdown.
So here's my thing. I'm not saying Leacher's rubbish. I'm not saying get him out of the team. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a hype and a phenomenon that we buy into, me included. He's the butcher. He's the best. He can do this. And if he doesn't have the support of Luke Shaw, that's on his left-hand side, if he doesn't have the support of Rafael Varane on his right-hand side, he's not that guy. He's not imposing that he can just hold the fort by himself because he's so amazing. We got that wrong. We've gassed him up too high. On the ball, yes, cool. He's nice on the ball. He's going to be progressive with his passes. I get it. But there's a lot of 1v1 situations where I don't fancy him and he's getting exposed. Andre Onana. I'm going to say this now on my gut feeling. Now, it's all good with the distribution. There's a few too many mistakes for me. There's a few. I'm telling you now, that third one from João Pedro, David De Gea would save that. I'm not saying we shouldn't have got rid of David De Gea and try and kick on. I'm just noticing the differences that I'm seeing. Onana, I think, is going to do a lot of that. If we're going to be honest with our true selves, right? Forget the memes and like people trying to pile in them and just saying he's going to be rubbish. I'm saying my hand on heart of what I'm seeing and what my gut feeling is. He's going to be good on the ball. He's going to help us to gain control over games as we kick on as a team. But he's going to make some shit-ass errors, bro. Like, he is. Like, he's not. He doesn't convince me. Go on.
Just play devil's advocate very, very quickly, and then I'll hand it back to you. Because I have some people say this. Because I agree with you. Because I said the same thing this morning. I said that we have to just generally acknowledge Onana's shot stopping is one of his weaker elements. Is suspect. Like, you know, strikers will be thinking, if I have a shot on target, I got a chance here. But people have been pointing this out today, Flex. They've been saying, well, actually, in these games, since the beginning of the season, Onana has faced 29 shots and saved 20 since the beginning of the season. He had 6 shots on target against Wolves, 6 saves, 6 shots on target, 5 saves versus Spurs, 4 shots on target, 2 saves against Forest, 5 shots on target, 2 saves against Arsenal, 8 shots on target yesterday, 5 saves. So is some of the criticism unfair or is it justified?
I'll be honest. I'm just going to go the eye test, Owen. I'm not saying he's terrible and why the hell did we get this guy? He's a dud. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my eye test and how I feel when he's facing a shot. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't feel that. I'm not beaming with confidence. Like some of the ones have been a little bit, Andre, went down a little bit slow there. Like Pascal Gross gives him the little shake on Martinez. And that shot's not even right in the corner, kind of just a little bit slow to get down. The one at Arsenal, I looked back at and I was like, yeah, probably should do better with that. And then the João Pedro one, he actually gets a hand. It's not even in the corner. Yeah. He should save that. And I know the game was done. It didn't make much. I'm just saying how I feel picking up on things. Casemiro, like we've said how amazing he is last year, and he had an amazing year last year. Now we're trying to kick the team on. It's a mixture of he's not protected, so that's a big problem, and he's not playing to a high enough level. I saw he was in front of me in that second half because of just the patterns of like the passages of play. He just ended up on my side because I sit right by the touchline, about 8 rows back. And sometimes when things happen like close, you can literally see the player's face, his expressions. Like I'm telling you now, he was blowing out of his backside. Like, he was knackered. Honestly, like, he couldn't move. And his pass selection was poor. We can't build up through Cass. Like, he's a destroyer. He can play with other players who can build. But I feel like we're going through an identity crisis where I think Ten Hag's tried to build this team in one way. And then because of a lot of situations that have been out of his control and some in his control, it's now that he has to kind of abort that mission and start a new temporary mission to then get back to the original mission. And he's not adapting to it. And we're feeling the brunt of that. So I know that sounds really negative of like where I'm at, but that was just some of the key points of what I picked up. He can fix it. Of course, this can be fixed. This is 5 games into the season. Ten Hag can get a reaction out of these players. He has to. He has to.
Yeah, with Onana, and this is just an interesting thing as well, because like I said, and I do want to stress, I agree, particularly that third one, as a goalkeeper myself, if you get your hands to it, you should probably save it. That's always the rule of thumb. Get your hands to it. You should probably be saving that. But as people have pointed out, compare it to this time last season, De Gea, I think, faced 9 shots in like the first 5, conceded 7. Onana, in comparison, he's faced 30. So that does imply that there is a bigger issue in terms of
defensively.
Absolutely.
We're vulnerable. And I mentioned, was it you I was just saying on the phone? I said it this morning too. For me, I have seen us concede a version of the same goal in near enough every game this season, which is literally pass between the lines. Whoa, the player's in behind, cut back. There's 1, 2, 3 players arriving edge of the box, penalty spot, slot it in past Onana. And that's where I look at a bigger issue and saying that chance creation is so easy. It's so easy. It's so vulnerable. You know, I mean, John, you know, the temp's too high.
Allow it to cool, John. Allow it to
cool. John is literally too hot. He's like, I forget this.
He's fuming, guys. He's fuming.
There is a clear problem with the way that we're setting up. There's a clear problem with the way that we are playing physically, the intensity. We can't keep it up. There is a clear way of a disconnect of communication between, you know, whether it's tracking runners and when it gets to the manager, which EyeJax did speak about the stubbornness or lack of, you know, he's not changing things as it goes. Like Owen said perfectly, we could all see what happened. I could see it straight away. The diamond was working. And as soon as they put Veltman high, as soon as they put Lamptey high, and Eriksen had big spaces to cover to run out as a left winger, and McTominay had big spaces to cover as a right winger, we were in huge trouble. That game was calling out for us to revert back to a 4-2-3-1. Even if you wanted to do it with players that were on the pitch, put Rashford on the left, keep Højlund up front, play Bruno on the right, and say to the midfield 3, I tell you what, Scott, come in here next to Cass. Or I'll tell you what, Scott, you've been playing a little bit higher. Eriksen, you can play deeper. Scott, when we've got it, be in a 10. When we haven't, come back in the midfield 3. Let's get some width. And then that job would have been for McTominay on the right of a 3-man midfield and Eriksen on the left of a 3-man midfield. Their jobs would have been to go and help Rashford and to go and help Bruno as wingers to deal with Veltman and Lamptey. It would have been a cover job instead of them having to run out and make recovery runs, And I can't believe Ten Hag didn't see that.
I think that's the thing that really concerned me. And, you know, in terms of, because like you said, in the first 17 minutes, we were good, right? And then I think Welbeck actually started dropping back. He started dropping back into the midfield, and maybe even Solly March as well. And they started overwhelming our midfield. They outnumbered our midfield. And at that point, you're right. That's where you'd hope that Ten Hag would be like, actually, we need to now also pack up that midfield. Rather than just leaving Casemiro by himself or letting these other guys run forward. And then actually another thing that really upsets me about the way we end up finishing games is, you know, the whole Bruno playing centre back thing and all this kind of stuff. It just becomes chaotic. And when that happens, you just ask the other team to score because the other team, they're comfortable, right? Brighton in this case, they're comfortable. So they're still playing their game. They're still playing their tactics. But meanwhile, now we're just playing whatever. We're just chaotic. We're just playing whatever. We're just trying to go gung-ho and score a goal any which way. So then it just becomes chaos. And that is not, you know, my question really is, when are we going to get this control that Rangnick was talking about and clearly Ten Hag wants us to have? We are not a team that can control a game after we go down or after we have a setback. We just lose it completely. And it's a shame because like I agree with what EyeJax was saying. EyeJax was saying, right? We don't have much on the bench. You know, got Amrabat out. We got. I think I tagged Owen in something on Twitter because there's basically a whole 11 of missing players that really could get into the team. Obviously, we're missing Varane. We're missing potentially Wan-Bissaka now. Who knows? You know, left back Luke Shaw. We're missing Heaton. Obviously, that's not really much of a miss. But Amrabat. You know, all of these guys are serious misses to this team. Mount. This is a whole. If you guys had these guys on the bench, you could change the game. But more than that, why are we not making those changes, those tactical changes in game, and sticking to our principles and rules when things do go wrong? Why are we not doing that?
You know, I got a question for you guys, because what baffles me the most is, there's been talks about Brighton, that they're countering and stuff, and that they play their kind of football and just lay back a bit and then come out fast. But if you look at that, I believe that second goal, I don't know the guy's name that fainted, and then
Pascal Gross.
Pascal Gross,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
If I counted correctly, there were 30 passes before that goal was scored. And it wasn't like tiki-taka football like Barca in their prime days, that you cannot even touch the ball as much as you tried. Why? Please explain me this. There's lots to say about Ten Hag. There's lots to say about anything, about the injuries, about a lack of quality on the bench. How is it possible, as a professional football team, that they could like easily pass the ball 30 times towards each other, switch sides a few times, play the ball just easily without a player like chasing them down so hard to make them difficult? I do not understand this. This is something that is fundamentally wrong with the mentality of the players that were playing for Manchester United in the first 11 in that game. And probably it's a lot of the same names as there was like 2 years ago, because you have injuries and that you have to play certain names. But this is the basics that are necessary for a player to play professional football. And how much can a coach, not to cover Ten Hag's ass, because there's much to say about him also, but how can a coach change that up within the game if the players are not executing it correctly? Because I know how he played at Ajax. There's a certain rule that he wants to recover the ball within 5 seconds.
That was going to be my question.
I didn't see that yesterday, especially with that goal. It wasn't a counter goal. Just check it back again.
They were just knocking it around easy, knocking it really easy. Owen, before you come with that question, there's so many super chats. Let me get those out, and then you guys can carry on. John A says, Flex, can you predict the next game where we win? When will we win our next game? Your predictions have been on point so far.
Wednesday,
Burnley.
You don't want to know what I actually think about that.
No.
Don't say it.
We do. Tell us. Speak.
We do.
Speak your truth. Speak your truth, brother.
Go on.
We don't need to judge.
Speak your truth.
No, we don't need it. We don't need it, Master.
I want to hear it, Owen. I want to hear it, Owen, if I'm honest.
It will probably get worse, because Bayern away is a difficult game in this situation. Come on, let's be honest. So Burnley away.
We'll get a draw. We'll get a draw, Bayern.
Do you want to know when I think we'll win our next game?
Oh yeah, go on. Give it to us.
Oh, when you're saying don't say it, so I feel like you're making me scared to say it, because I just didn't say how I feel. So shall I not say it? Owen said no.
Owen has been outvoted. He's been outvoted.
No, say it. Everyone's.
I think we'll lose against Bayern. And that will be massive pressure, because that's 3 defeats on the bounce. I think the pressure going into the Burnley game will be really difficult. So I think we'll draw. And I think we'll win our next game at home against Palace. What's that, Carabao Cup? Them 2 games against Palace, I think we'll win.
Mike is somewhere in the background shouting, stop talking.
Probably, yeah. That's how I feel. I feel. Hopefully I'm wrong, but that's how I feel. Owen Style Advisor says, even if we wanted Ten Hag out, we couldn't afford to pay him off and pay for another manager. Brian will want 20 million for De Zerbi. Great show, guys. Owen, who was... Did I say... I heard it last night, and I was like, imagine like something mad happened with Ten Hag and we tried to get De Zerbi. Like, that would just cost so much. That would be mad money. But Brighton would just... for the right price, you can get anything from Brighton. You just have to pay mad stuff. Justin says, when we had the ball, no players were in any kind of space. When Brighton had their ball, their players had acres, so annoying to watch. WJ Barrett says, I'm surprised at the Butcher comments. That ain't fair. Fair play. Feel free to disagree with me. I think his best work has been when he's obviously in the best team. So when he's got Luke Shaw next to him, you've got Varane next to him. I've just noticed that in 1v1 situations, I see him get sold a lot. Even last year, like You know, look when Salah did it as well, turning around. You know, like he's not that good in the 1v1s. What he is good at is going in tight to someone so they can't turn and being aggressive. Or if the ball's coming over and he's got to run and intercept, you know, get a nice composed touch on the ball. He's very good. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just working out all the things that he is versus some bits that he isn't, so I can get a more accurate description of how I describe Leacher. You know what I mean? I just don't want to just keep saying the butcher is the greatest in the world. And I'm seeing things, I'm like, the greatest don't get spun like that. Like that's not it. But he is coming back from his injury, so hopefully he can get back to his levels. Because I think it's fair to say since he's come back this season, he hasn't been great, has he? Coming back from that injury, there's probably still something there. Burnside is back. Said +9, good over course of his tenure. +9 if that were. Oh, say that again. Goal difference. Yeah, +9 goal difference as well. If that were Ollie, feet wouldn't have touched. I'll take vibes over whatever this manager's a fraud. Wow.
Can we stop doing this, by the way? Because I've seen this on social media. I said it this
I want to
morning,
talk on
I'll say
that.
it
I want to
again.
talk on that.
I'll say it again here, which is, can we stop the revisionist history bullshit? Because why is Eric Ten Hag here? Because of all of these ex-managers that we had, it went bad. It went wrong. Look at Ollie's last season. It was awful. It was terrible. We lived through it. Same with Jose Mourinho. People go, oh, yeah, I remember Jose time. Do you remember what happened when he left? Louis van Gaal, again, he was arguing with people in the media, mulled wine, his mince pies and that kind of stuff. I was a season ticket holder that season. I watched like 6 games over Christmas, but we didn't do anything. We didn't win a game.
Bruh.
Like, can we stop? People go, oh, yes, Ralph Rangnick times. That was good times. What? The 20-minute game press in the first game ever?
Against Palace.
Can we just, again, we do this all the time. Someone said, I saw a picture on like social media today. It was a picture of Ollie. We had like a profile of play, and you laughed at him. No, we didn't. The profile of play was vibes. Everyone knows that's what it was.
Hey, we were singing Ollie at the wheel. We didn't laugh at him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Robin says, look, I think most of the South Americans were jet lagged playing against Bolivia at 3,000 miles over the ocean. So be patient with Leacher and Casemiro. Didn't there a few South Americans in that Brighton team?
They didn't play, to be fair. They didn't play.
Oh, they didn't.
They didn't play, to be fair.
Joe McGee, thank you for the contribution. Owen, so you're saying you would have saved that third goal? You're saying you're better than Onan. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm very agile for a big man. Okay,
absolutely. All Elite says, "Come on, guys, let's talk about Bruno," with the eyes emoji. Jenna says, I think Onana should save Brighton's second and third goal, and also Arsenal's second goal. When games are tight, big saves win you games or points. And Basila says, Scott had 22 touches in the game, basically hide him. And Dribbles McGee says, would De Gea have saved that shot from Benrahma? Would De Gea, well,
possibly, but he didn't play for United anymore. So,
would De Gea have saved the shot from Benrahma?
Exactly.
Yeah. David G says, Brighton had 6 players missing and still played the same way. We could have our full team and still have no style of play. Since last season, we are freestyle. WJ Barrett says, if Mount played in the McTominay role, massive difference. Agreed. Yes. Once we do get players back, if you had Amrabat to the left of that and Mount to the right of that, that's completely different. That is completely different. And maybe that's what Ten Hag's banking on or looking at in this period. And that's where Marcel's probably saying, that's why I'm saying, keep calm. We got players coming back. Zoteng TV says, and just playing better ball than Ten Hag. Shocking. John not having that. Kyle says, we don't play as a collective. We have all the talent, but we don't play as one. This was evident against Wolves. David G says, everyone on our bench are internationals. Excuses. Vishal says, need something to cheer in these gloomy times. Big up, Jarl. Also been a member for 14 months, which is amazing, Vishal. Big up to you. Anthony Taylor, hope it's not the ref, says, people might say, but Bayern drew to Leverkusen without knowing Leverkusen have been really good this season. Yeah, Xabi Alonso is really building. And me and Owen said that. Was like, you can say that, like Bayern will give you chances. Yeah, but look at us, mate. You have to.
Leverkusen, no joke. They played so good. They could have had like 5 in that game.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Gina says, I think we are losing games due to our midfield is overrun. No legs in midfield, and I'm seriously worried all the lower teams will put to workhorse midfielders to destroy us like Spurs. And James says, does Onana know he's allowed to save shots? Andy says, Fleck, be honest, if De Zerbi is available now, would you?
No. No.
No.
And you know why? The
No.
reason I say no is because it's the same thing. This is the same thing that happened when Ten Hag was at Ajax. We all wanted him. When, like Owen was saying, these guys are just now the flavor of the month. So obviously everybody wants Ange Postecoglou or De Zerbi. But if they come in, they have to deal with the same issues, and exactly the same thing will happen to them. De Zerbi will piss off one player, like exactly like thing is done with Sancho. All the fans will kick off. The fans that don't want Thingy now will kick off about him anyway, and then the same thing will happen. It's just flavor of the month business, man.
Zoteng says the EyeJax is not going to like this. The Ajax school of football is a myth. Ten Hag fraud.
How much more do you have, man? Because I'm biting my tongue here.
I know. I'm just trying to get through these.
30 minutes extension to this.
Sophia's
exactly.
Sophia's football talk. Big up to Sophia. She says Ollie was vibes and Kumbaya FC. Gurav says yes, Flex. I'm the guy who messaged you first on Threads. We still have many players who need to go. I want Rashford to either fix up or please go. Let's get someone who will find people in the box. Jalapeno too says Rashford must pass the ball to be better positioned teammates. We wouldn't have lost all three of the last 5 if he weren't selfish. He must change. I think that's hard to just put it all on him. That's why we've lost that. There's big problems. It's not just him. Kristen says we need to rally behind Ten Hag. Agreed. I still have my trust in him. We have got an injury crisis, and also so many decisions have gone against us. And lastly, EyeJax will be happy to know, Mirakai says, Flex and Rich, you've talked about the team mentality after being a goal down. How can they improve on this? We can't keep having this every season. That's the $1 million question, my friend. Yeah. EyeJax, the floor is yours. I know you've been waiting.
Can I? Okay.
Absolutely.
Finally, thank you. No,
we have got 10 minutes left, though, by the way.
Yeah, I will do it in 8. No, joke. You know what it is, man? What baffles me a lot is like the sentiment within a part of the Man United community, part of the fan base, because I cannot understand that I see messages and Erik ten Hag out. There's no philosophy. We need to go for another manager. For F's sake, just be sensible for once, and not be only reacting on sentiment. If you see like how you guys played like under Oli, under Ralph, managers before that, there's a process being outlaid now that takes like a while, maybe even several years. And if you look at that first year, was it all peachy? No. Was it above what you expected from him in that first season where he finished, got you the Champions League, got you a trophy in the meanwhile also? Yes, it's much more than expected. It's still a process that is ongoing, and it baffles me a lot that I now already hear people saying like, yeah, Ten Hag out, no philosophy. Do you not learn from like last year's, from previous situations? Do you really think if you bring in a new manager that has to gel within the club again, that has to get to know all the players again, that has to like learn about, the structure of the club, that he solves it all at once?
Sorry, John is
struggling. John is struggling.
Where he just came back in and it was like,
in all seriousness, it just baffles me a lot. But same sentiment with certain players, Rashford was shit before the first season of Ten Hag. Then he is your star player again. Now he played a bad game last match, and he shot too many times for himself on the goal. What if he scored 2? Within those shots, nobody would say anything about it. Where is the credit within? I'm not saying you guys. Where's the credit within the critical part of this fan base that players have a certain credit, and managers have a certain credit? It's a process, and if you look at the matches that have been played, they weren't good. But traditionally at Ajax, usually we started steamrolling around December, January, and it got better and better. Now your new players that have maybe different mentalities are all injured. The teams that you drop points against are against Tottenham Hotspurs away, Arsenal away. That can happen against a good Brighton that beaten you like last year in your own home again also. So it can happen. Yes, the 2 wins weren't peachy against the other opponents, but you got the wins. And I'm telling you now, the Bayern München game is going to be difficult. You do not have to be Einstein to make a conclusion like that. It's away at Bayern in the state that you are in, with the injuries that you have, with the current morale of the team. It's highly probable that you'll probably lose there or maybe draw. But after that, against Burnley and against Crystal Palace, then you need to start, getting those points again and improve. it just baffles me to see that so many fans are so negative at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, end
That's
of the
United
rant.
fan base, man.
End of the rant.
John, just because you've managed to get
Fix
back
your
in,
camera.
I want to hear from you just in case it goes again.
I was actually cool, and then my camera is now actually getting me my internal temps high. This is pissing me off. I just wanted to say one thing. I wanted to touch up on the midfield situation. I really truly believe that once Amrabat and Mount return back to this squad, we will look miles better. Last season, Casemiro looked great because of his aura and his presence and his energy and all of the qualities that brings with Casemiro. But I will tell you now, if you're in the chat and you're younger than 25, I'm telling you right now, every year it changes a lot. You know what I mean? I'm 31. I don't feel the same when I was 30. You know what I'm saying? I feel
31.
You look good, man.
I was going to say, are you kidding me?
I'm still great now, baby. Oh, yeah.
Johnson's older than me. I'm good, man. I look haggard. I mean,
no, but for real, though. You see, one thing I've recognized with Casemiro this season so much is that quote from Maldini. He always used to say, if you made a tackle, I've already made a mistake. Maldini used to say that so much. And Casemiro has been tackling nonstop this season. And them tackles getting nobody. Them tackles getting nobody.
Them ones where he just drops to the floor.
But that's when you're a midfielder, right? Exactly. But when you're a midfielder, you need to stay on your legs. You need to chase. You need to follow. But Casemiro just can't do that for 80 minutes, 70 minutes. He needs to have somebody next to him with a bit of industry, with a bit of pace. But next to him is another Christian Eriksen. Don't get me wrong. That Marcel turn in the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, God damn. But apart from that, you lose the industry, you lose the legs. And when you have somebody like Scott McTominay, who's not really known for his composure and his quality and his calm presence in the midfield, our midfield is, I'm not going to say shambles, but once the injured players return, I promise you, things will get better. That's it.
Marcel, talk to us.
Good vibes.
Well, just a little bit on what Alex was saying about for the second goal. It was Scott not getting out to Lamptey, and then they passed the ball into the half space, and it wasn't actually meant to go to Gross. I don't think it was meant to end up to Gross. There was another person that they were meant to, I think it was a forward that they were trying to pass it to, and then Martinez gets beat, but he was trying to cover a space. And I just feel like we've been really unfortunate right now, and for people to say Ten Hag out so early. I think crazy. I was saying it it's crazy. I was saying it last season, and Flex kind of corrected my mindset on it because maybe I worded it a bit wrong. But I was saying last season's a free hit. Last season, I was saying it was a free hit season simply because of the turmoil and everything that's going on. And Ten Hag, for me, he wasn't playing Ten Hag ball. I would love Ajax to maybe speak more on it, but I feel like it was a bit more of a makeshift thing. He was playing the 4-2-3-1 and trying to teach players how to play build-up because they couldn't do it. We didn't have the footballers for it. Didn't have the goalkeeper to do it. And now this season, he's now teaching them how to play Ten Hag ball. He's got a 3-1-6 kind of style or a 3-2-5 kind of style. And there's going to be turbulence. Ajax has said it well as well. It's going to take a few years for this process to happen. We don't even have all the players that he's purchased to enact the style that he wants to enact. So why are we so quick to get rid of this man? Again, De Zerbi's played well, and good luck to him. I think against Bayern Munich, I'm hoping that Ten Hag has some sort of system to just focus on the counter-attack, because I do believe Fleck will be going to Germany and will be happy, and there will be a positive result, whether it's a draw. Is what we need, but whether it's a draw or win, I believe he will be coming back
draw right now.
You will be coming back.
We need to go there and not get embarrassed. I know you can lose at any day against Bayern, but the game's got to be close. Or the manner, if we do lose, it can't be bad, man. I'm telling you. Because
what we need is a big performance, don't we?
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah. We need like that.
With the result, though. We need a result as well.
We need a performance.
Yes, like the Barca one, or even like beginning of last season, what happened? First 2 games, Brighton played at home, very good. Brentford, we played away, awful, 4-0. And we went into that Liverpool game, and everyone, I remember doing a full view, and EyeJax was on it. And you were saying, like, even if you don't get the result, keep the faith. But nobody going into that game last season against Liverpool thought we were going to win because Liverpool had just nearly come off the quadruple. We were in the mud, we're terrible. And we won. And then after that, until we played City away. But for a period of time, we were like, where did that come from? And it built up momentum. And I think that's the territory that United are in at the moment. Whether or not we get that in the Bayern game, I don't know. Looking past that one, you go, right, we've got Burnley, then we've got Palace at home twice, Galatasaray at home, Brentford at home, Sheffield United away, Copenhagen at home, and then the Manchester derby at the end of October. So realistically, you're saying you're looking. But realistically, you're looking at that and saying between now and the end of October, that's really going to be the key defining period, I think, for Ten Hag now, because these are now games where he is expected and United are expected to win the majority, if not all of those games. Park the Bayern one. The rest of those you're going, if you drop points there, people will be questioning it. So
there needs to be a period of stabilization in that.
Momentum.
In that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It has to be.
You know what I wanted to touch upon besides what you were saying, Marcel? Something to take into consideration also is certain manager getting named now, like doing well at certain clubs. But don't forget that your house is on fire when the manager was appointed here, and it still is. The way this club structure is with the owners and everything that's going on, even with the takeover talks and not maybe spending the money that you can in a window because it's uncertain what's going to happen, you know. Like Brighton, for example, with the Serbi there, they are a well-run club. I know the way they are scouting. They have like several lists already for certain players that might leave. They intensively scout them. They already know what kind of players that they want to get in. And sometimes they're getting them in like 6 months or 1 year before the player actually leaves. So they have the successor already in. So you have to take those things into consideration also. It's very difficult for a manager to like properly work when so many dissonants are with the club in different levels. You know, so this is something that you also have to like realize that it's not the same. At least in my opinion.
I hear you. WJ Barrett says, "Big show, guys. Love how you call it at." Milverton says, "Call it at." We had to. Milverton says, "Ten Hag have spread himself thin. Have to scout and manage. Is not his strength. Just managing is. He needs a backroom staff, or it will get worse." WJ Barrett says, "Tell them EyeJax, swear, bro. Swear, F them all." Jalapeno says, "Flex, I didn't say it's all on Rashford, but you can't mess up 3 chances a game and expect to compete. No way. Rashford must change. This must be said." I do agree with that, especially with the type of striker that we now have in Højlund. Rashford does have to become, more productive in terms of as a winger. You know, if you're looking for a bright spark in the game, it usually is going to come from Rashford, a bit of X factor. So I don't mind him having shots. I don't mind him trying things. But also when he goes down the outside of defenders, we see that he's getting joy. We nearly got another goal from it yesterday as well. Very, very fine margins. And in that first half, you know, he was cutting in, took a shot, hit off Lewis Dunk, hit the crossbar. Like he was making things happen. I don't mind that. Express yourself. But, working hard off the ball and making chances they can both coexist at the same time. They should coexist at the same time. Just because you want to come alive when you get the ball and make things happen, which is great, that's not a pass to say I don't hardly need to run around. It's not a messy thing where it's like everyone could do my running and I'm messy. Like you can't do that. You have to work. Owen's hair style advisor said EyeJax counsellor settings. K-Flow says under Ollie, Potter was flavor of the month until he got exposed. Fans never learn. Yeah, exactly. And Big Yard says when he abandoned his philosophy after the first 2 games last season, I feared for him. He needs to go back to where he was and weed out this and that measure up. That includes Rashi and Bruno. WJ Barrett also says De Zerbi would die at United. Eric Ten Hag is the truth, believe. And Biggie the Third says good vibe fellow. We have been saying 4 years. We have been saying for years, when this or that player comes, he will bring the best out of that player. We will drag Amrabat down too, thinking it's not going to get much better. And Edgar says, I'm treating this season as transitional. Next season is far more important. Yeah, there's a lot of money being spent and we are building a team. We've come to the end of the show. It's this could have been a 2-hour show, to be honest with you. But yes, thank you everyone for getting involved. Hope everyone has smashed the like on the video. We're at 400 likes. If we get to 500 on the way out, that'll be great. Big up to EyeJax. Thank you so much for coming through as per usual, bro. Sharing your knowledge and your calming influence on us. We have to believe. Big up Game Fanatic, who just became the latest member of the United View Member Club as well. Just seen that. Big up to Good Vibes John, whether hot or for cold. He made it. He made it. Good to see you, bro. And I'm sure we'll have you in again as well. It's always great when you're here. Big up to Rich. Big up you, bro. Always doing your thing. Good to see. Make sure you sub to Rich's channel. And actually EyeJax and John as well. John Shin, exactly. Make sure you hit up their channels. Marcel, big up to you as well, man. Good, always bringing the good vibes. You know what I'm saying?
Good vibes, Marcel.
Good vibes, Marcel. Exactly. There you go. You're running that. There's a new club you got there. But you're gonna have to trademark that, John. You know what I mean? People are trying to join you, man.
Yo, lawyers in the chat. Yo, holla at me. I need to trademark that.
And big up Owen, man. Me and Owen will be back tomorrow morning as per usual. Morning view. God knows what the news is going to be. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, there's not much more in this Aaron Wan-Bissaka thing as well. Hopefully, that isn't the news that he's going to be out for 2 months. I hope that's just a bit of a dead rubber. It's interesting that one sort of person's ran with that and it's doing a few rounds on Twitter, but we'll see. We'll be back tomorrow morning, guys. Big show, big week. I'm not looking forward to it. I am very pessimistic. I'm not feeling great.
End the show on a high. End the show on a positive.
Patience and believe.